Mark Levin here. The post-election economy could be a minefield of inflation, massive debt, and currency instability. That's why I count on gold for my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and that's who I turn to for my own investments. Call them now, 800-900-8000, for a free gold investment kit, and see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Don't wait and see if post-election chaos destroys your savings. Act preemptively. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Let's get right to it. We only have 3 hours and tons going on. First things first, Hurricane Melvin. With our buddy Joe Bastardi, chief meteorologist, weatherbell.com. Joe, what's happening, brother?
Well, it's going through a second cycle of deepening, and we saw this coming yesterday when it fell apart a little bit. It didn't really fall apart, just weakened with the interaction with the Yucatan, and some drier air tried to get into it. But now that it's pulling away from the Yucatan, it's re-intensifying, and it's probably going to hit a second peak. Let me explain something about this storm, though, folks. When it reaches the Florida coast, it will not be as strong at the center as what you're seeing now. The problem is it'll be much bigger. It'll be a very, very big storm by that time, so that hurricane force winds are extending out 100 miles to the south and north of the center. Right now, they only extend out 20 miles. So it's like a mighty mite right now. Very small, relatively compact. So what will happen is it will still have the same amount of total energy, and that total energy is pushing a wall of water at the Florida west coast from the southwest. The last time this happened in Tampa was 1921. Now you say, well, what about Ian? What about Charlie? All those storms went in south of Tampa. And we saw Helene, Idalia, and Debbie. They went into the north of Tampa. This is coming very close to Tampa. It may be 20, 30 miles south of Tampa. A lot of the models, some of the models are a little bit further south. Most of the models that I've just looked at are right over Tampa Bay. But here's the thing that you have to understand. The total power of the storm is very concentrated now. It's going to continue to increase the amount of power it has. Don't be fooled if the categories fall down, because the storm will be just as big and destructive even if it hits off its peak. I'll give you examples. Rita, Katrina, Wilma, all those hit the United States as Category 3s after 5. Now, I'm talking about the Saffir-Simpson scale. My company's developed a power and impact scale, which takes into account the size I'm talking about. And the size of the storm will be very important. So it's going to be near its peak on our scale when it reaches the coast, probably between 8 and midnight. So very, very close to Tampa, if not at the mouth of the bay, perhaps a tad bit further south. Not going to make a difference with the tremendous surge that the National Hurricane Center is forecasting. will move right up the I-4 corridor, come out just north of Cape Canaveral. It looks like in the morning on Thursday, head out to sea. And that area, that I-4 corridor, is going to get hit by hurricane-force winds. Not as bad, of course, as what we're going to see around Tampa, but still a substantial storm. And when it's all said and done, it's liable to rival Ian as far as total damage done to Florida in billions of dollars.
My God, I've never seen anything like this. I'm no expert, Joe, but let me ask you a question. As this thing moves from the West Coast, Central Florida, East Coast, I heard Governor DeSantis say, and you folks on the East Coast, things may well happen when this hurricane's in the Atlantic. Is that true, and what is that?
Well, no, they'll get 3 to 5 hours of strong north winds, probably gusts 85, 90 miles an hour out of the north, but it'll be moving away from them. Mm-hmm. And so the weather will consistently improve. It's not like a storm coming at you from the southwest. As far as never seeing this, if one of the things my professors at Penn State, Dr. John Kerry, late Dr. John Kerry, said, go study typhoons in the Pacific. You'll learn all about how these things really work. So you're seeing an exceptional situation, but it's not something that we haven't seen before. Wilma in the Caribbean, she went down, I believe, to 882 millibars, and the eye was only a half mile wide. So what happens is,
let me do it this way. In plain English, the average American who hasn't studied typhoons in Japan and so forth, when's the last time something like this hit the United States?
Well, it's going to hit, Helene. It's going to hit with the strength of Helene at the center. It's not going to be the same storm it is now. But it's like, okay, what I call is like, suppose with 23 years old, you're throwing a 102 mile an hour fastball, but then 8 or 9 years later, you get a wicked slider like Steve Carlton used to have, right? He's not throwing a fastball as hard, but he's still just as nasty a pitcher. So what happens is when it hits, when we total it up, and we'll say, well, this was the 34th strongest storm to hit Florida as far as pressure and high.
But you're saying that's not really what you look at. You look at the overall hurricane, the width of the hurricane, and so forth.
Right. You got it. It's going to expand. It's going to get bigger. It's going to be stronger. And you see, this is how nature works. There's only so much energy you can bundle in very closely. Then it will start to expand. But think about this, and I tell this to people all the time. And this is why I get really upset with these people with the climate change, because they don't look at the size of some of the storms. Katrina officially hit as a Category 3, but its hurricane-force winds were so far out that all that energy of 80 to 100 mile an hour winds piled in and piled the water up. Carla versus Harvey. Carla gave hurricane-force winds to the entire Texas coast. Harvey, only 100 miles wide, both the force, but which was the greater storm as far as power goes? So we want to get that across to people, because if you start saying, oh my gosh, look, it's starting to weaken, it's not really weakening. It's expanding in a different way, and it's just as deadly and just as strong. And this is
so really, Joe, before we run out, ignore the category number and pay attention to the fact that this is just, for the average person, a massive, brutal storm.
That's exactly right. You got it right there. Don't dwell on those categories. Look, the National Hurricane Center, people give them a hard time. They are great at this kind of storm. They're going to be right on top of it. Governor DeSantis is just amazing at getting people ready.
He is brilliant.
What a difference. But you guys just hunker down. You get out of the way of the darn thing. You come back and you rebuild and you come back stronger. That's how it's going to be.
But get out of there. Get out of there at ground zero. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, you're the best. If people want to learn more about you and your company, where do they go?
Well, weatherbell.com is our site, and it's a premium site, but we still put the information out to get people there. And I'm on Big Joe Bastardi on Twitter or whatever the heck I am. That I put a lot of stuff out there to get people to look, and especially, I can't believe this whole climate situation. It's like nuts to me. But in any case,
Joe,
a lot of stuff there, brother.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate you at the last minute like this. Take care of yourself. Joe Bastardi is the best. So there, we learned a lot. This is just one damn big hurricane. It's going to do a lot of brutal damage. And if you haven't gotten into your vehicle to get the hell out of there, I don't know what you're waiting for. Because if you have an OS moment, there's nowhere to go. There's nobody there to help you. I'll just give you an example. We built our house in Florida to 210-mile-an-hour winds. It's built of steel and cement. It's built like a pillbox, a bunker. It doesn't look like it on the outside, but that's the structure. It's supposed to be able to withstand a massive hurricane and even these tides of 10, maybe 12, maybe 13 feet. The windows are almost bulletproof. The casings the windows are in are massive. It took 4 or 5 men to put each window in, to put the doors in. The doors open towards the outside, again, because of the weather and so forth. The roof is a massive commercial roof. So basically all the money in this house went into the structure. But so what? I'm never going to sit there through the middle of a hurricane. I want to come back to a home. And everything around it will be destroyed. But I want the home to be there because I can't build it again. God knows if it will be. But that's what it's tested to. But there's no way I would wait in that house. Even on the east coast of Florida, while the hurricane is busting through the state of Florida. It's not wise. And so you don't need me to tell you this, folks. You're all mature adults. But why test it? Mother Nature's a mother. And you know what I mean by that. I don't mean a sweet mother, a nurturing mother. This is Mother Nature. Unlike earthquakes and tornadoes and things of that sort, hurricanes are predictable within a window. Number of days, basic area where it's going to hit, and basic outcomes. So there's no excuse. To be perfectly honest, no excuse. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Folks, I want to have a serious discussion with you here about Kamala Harris. I know everybody's having laughs about her 60 Minutes interview, and CBS greatly edited the interview with respect to Israel because of things she said and the illiterate nature in which she speaks. She goes on to Howard Stern. Howard Stern got wealthy and famous, pushing sexism and porn obsession and racism and vulgarism and womanizing stuff. And I'm not saying he did it, but this was the core of his program. She goes on that show. She goes on The View, where you have really some nasty, awful people. She's going on Colbert, who's a Democrat, basically surrogate. The American people deserve a lot better than this. She's immature. She's not smart. She doesn't work hard. She is an ideologue. She's manipulative and is easy to be manipulated. This is a frightening prospect. A frightening prospect. Nobody listens to Howard Stern anymore. A tiny percentage of the American people watch The View and Colbert. She's talking to the same people who support her. Her 60 Minutes interview was a disaster for her, but even CBS cleaned it up somewhat. Look at her pick for vice president. There couldn't be a more awful choice. And for almost 4 years as vice president, she literally did absolutely nothing. Nothing. She admits she did nothing on the border. But she did nothing. They didn't want her near the White House. They didn't want her in public. Her ratings were in the dumpster up to about 2 months ago, where they recreated her. They don't want her engaging with serious people. Ladies and gentlemen, we're a little over 3 weeks away from selecting the next president of the United States. I don't find this funny at all. She's got surrogates out there all over the place, lying to us. All they do is attack Trump. She's got hundreds of millions of dollars. The campaign has said that they're going to use that money to rip Trump to shreds. They lie about Trump's position on abortion, on Project 2025, in vitro fertilization. They're still talking about him as if he's Hitler. The dehumanization's going on and on and on. And that's why I say you've got to make a decision. Your friends, family, others have to make a decision. Do you hate Trump more than you love America? Kamala Harris is not qualified to be president. She's not even qualified to be vice president. She's demonstrated that. I'm not talking about her age or her gender or her race. I'm talking about her as a human being. The idea that people are going to cast a vote for this person is simply because they either hate Trump and can't get over it, or it's a matter of baseball. It's one team versus another. But if you love your country, there is no way you could possibly vote for somebody like this. No way. 4 years of this will be a disaster. We will be in a war with China, perhaps Russia. Israel could easily be defeated because she hates Israel. She's an Islamist. Her father was an Islamist Marxist. Her pastor's the same thing. She's truly a radical, so she's going to lean on her Marxist, Islamist ideology. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, we know the real Kamala, but unfortunately, most of the nation does not. The real Kamala tells an intern, don't look into my eyes. So upsetting the intern's father that he wrote an entire op-ed about it. The real Kamala Harris can't get along with her staff. 92% turnover on the vice president's staff in 3 years. Nobody's ever heard of anything like this. She drops F-bombs left and right. And look who she marries, this guy, Doug Emhoff. Doug Emhoff is a fraud, a phony. Doug Emhoff is a misogynist. We have another piece in the Daily Mail that he was known in his law firm as hitting on the women. Totally improper. We have a story in the Daily Mail that he slapped the woman so hard that she twirled around. He impregnates, what was it? The babysitter? The nanny? I mean, this guy's a sleazeball. A sleazeball. But the Praetorian Guard in the media, which is filled with sleazeballs like this, they protect her. They protect her. They have no regard for a free press, no regard for professional journalism. And so this is a big deal. People are going to have to really start thinking about what they want here. This isn't a senator from California, an attorney general from California, DA in San Francisco. We're talking about the president of the United States. She didn't get a single vote in 2020 in the primary. She didn't get a single vote because she never ran in a primary this time around. She didn't have a real convention. They had a phony convention where she already had been picked virtually. And so now she wants to get your vote. And I'm telling you, America, listen to me, America, this is serious. It's not funny. It's not a joke. I'll be right back. Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin, tough as hell.
That's why I like Mark Levin. And I'm not sure a lot of people like him. He's tough as hell. But I like him. I love him.
Call in now. 877-381-3811.
The ruling class and their media are destroying this country for power and money. Now we have the pseudo-news begins. Remember what I wrote about in Unfreedom of the Press? Pseudo-news headlines weeks before Election Day. You have a loathsome gossip author, Bob Woodward. He times the release of a new book and book excerpts filled with trash talk, to use against Donald Trump. His colleagues in the corporate media, already desperately all in for Harris, use the excerpts as concocted news, run with headlines, force the Trump campaign to respond, and so forth. Meanwhile, Rome, that is America, burns, and Woodward gets richer. These people don't give a damn about our country. Kamala Harris doesn't. She'll destroy our healthcare system. She's destroyed our border. She intends to do more. She'll destroy merit. She'll destroy any notion of a colorblind society. I'm telling you, folks, she has no respect for the office of the presidency any more than she had respect for the vice presidency. She's immature. She's over her head. She's incompetent. She's barely literate. And she's cold-blooded. What she did with DeSantis today was disgusting. She's never attended a pre-hurricane meeting. I broke that story nationally yesterday or the day before. Her Hurricane Helene. We have this massive hurricane about to hit Florida, and she's on Howard Stern. What do you women think about Howard Stern? I'm just curious. Howard Stern. Pretty sick. He's become quite the putz, by the way. But in any event, I want you to listen to something today. It's kind of gotten drowned out from all the rest. I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to President Trump yesterday at a remembrance event on October 7th. I want you to listen to this. Cut 17, go.
As you know, Hamas has now been severely degraded, and Hezbollah has recently been dealt very, very powerful, crippling blows. With strength and the right leadership, the dawn of a new, more harmonious Middle East is finally within our reach. It's finally within our reach. But you have no idea the role that the United States has to play in order to get that ball over the goal line. We have to get it into the end zone. And if it's not the United States, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We have to be able to get it done and get it done properly and get back to a wonderful, beautiful way of life. You have to be able to do it. You have to finish what you began, and you have to finish it quickly. So here is my commitment to you on the solemn date. I will not allow the Jewish state to be threatened with destruction. I will not allow another Holocaust of the Jewish people. I will not allow a jihad to be waged on America or our allies. And I will support Israel's right to win its war on terror, and it has to win it fast. No matter what happens, it has to go fast.
There's no confusion there. There's no talking out of both sides of your mouth. That received almost no attention. Almost no attention. Because the media want to tamp it down. They don't want Jewish voters or Christian voters who support the state of Israel or other voters to even hear what Donald Trump said. Kamala Harris doesn't say any of this. Israel has the right to defend itself. Trump said Israel's right to win its war on terror, and it has to win it fast. And it has to win it with the backing of the United States of America. How about anti-Semitism? Here's Donald Trump again yesterday, October 7th, Remembrance Day. Cut 18, go.
Almost as shocking as October 7th itself is the outbreak of anti-Semitism that we have all seen in its wake. I never thought I was going to see this. Never, ever. This is so incredible to be witnessing. Whoever thought? We thought this was very, very rarefied, putrid air. We never thought we'd see it, and we certainly never thought we'd see it in this country. And a lot of that has to do with the leadership of this country. This attack, yeah, well, that's true. We need leadership. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's very sad to see. I never thought I'd see it. This attack should have rallied the entire world in support of the Jewish people and the Jewish homeland. Instead, an ancient scourge of anti-Jewish hatred. And this was something we thought was left to hundreds and thousands of years ago. I mean, this was something we never thought could happen. The anti-Jewish hatred has returned even here in America, in our streets, our media, and our college campuses, and within the ranks of the Democrat Party in particular. Not in the Republican Party, I will tell you that. It's not in the Republican Party.
And then in comparison, because that's the choice, Trump or Harris, this is in the Daily Mail. CBS News appears to have edited the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris to show the Democrat 2024 hopeful in a more positive light. Social media erupted in criticism of the vice president's word-salad response to a question about the Israeli-Hamas war. But after the episode aired on 60 Minutes on Monday night, the version that was put onto the show's official YouTube page did not include Harris's nonsensical answer and instead included a truncated and more straightforward response. Host Bill Whitaker asked Harris about whether Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was listening to the U.S. and whether the administration had any sway over the Jewish state's decision-making and its conflict with Hamas terrorists operating out of Gaza. Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy where it needs to happen in the region. Her answer was riddled with long pauses and hesitant wording. The interview aired Monday, the same day that marked the one-year anniversary of the start of the Middle Eastern conflict after Hamas terrorists invaded Israel and carried out the largest single massacre of Jewish people since the Holocaust. It appears that CBS decided to edit the vice president's answer. Instead, the new version on YouTube has Harris appearing much more decisive and sure-footed in her answer. CBS and Paramount did not respond to a request comment from the Daily Mail regarding the edited clip. You see the difference, America? I played you the unedited Donald Trump. He made it abundantly clear where he stands and what he wants to do. Kamala Harris, it's not a word salad, it's equivocation. She surrounded herself with anti-Semites, with Islamists, with self-hating Jews, many of whom worked for or in the prior Obama administration. She's made it clear that if she becomes president, she's going to call together and have a special meeting on looking at the relationship with the state of Israel. When it comes to the United States, she lies about the border. She lies about the bill. People are being enslaved as I speak. She's the vice president. She hasn't lifted a finger. Photo ops. Photo ops. You go on Howard Stern, who's a joke. You go on The View, which is pathetic. You go on Colbert, which is pathetic. And this is how you intend to campaign with the American people? This is how dictators campaign. You go on friendly media, basically state-run media that burps up, regurgitates what the monopoly party, the Democrat Party, and their government want you to say? It's the best she can do. They go in 60 Minutes. Whitaker had a good interview, but apparently the CBS bosses decided to tighten up her answer about Israel because she doesn't unequivocally support Israel. Whenever she talks about Israel, she needs to talk about the Palestinians. I want to make another point clear. I want to make it clear to the whole world. I want to make it clear to the journalists. I want to make it clear even to my colleagues on TV. A Hamas senior official has said, out of the 41,000 people who've died in Gaza, 80% were Hamas terrorists or Hamas terrorist family members. 80%. That's a report. That's a fact that came out of his mouth. 80%. And the reason is the other 20%, which will be lower, is because Hamas kills its own citizens by the way they fight their terrorist wars and they kill Israeli citizens. Just as Hezbollah kills citizens and Iran kills its own citizens. Enough of these lies. The media are contemptible. They say, oh, if you criticize us, it's like Stalin. No, you are like Stalin. You are like Pravda. That's the problem. That's why there's the Blaze. That's why there's Breitbart. That's why there's the Daily Caller and the Daily Signal. That's why there's Right Scoop. That's why there's conservative and truly free media platforms developing all over the place. All over the place. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Now, this is funny to me. I care about my kids and my grandkids, and I care about the people who came before us, who put their lives on the line. Serious people who cared about our country and everything that it meant. And they had one election. We're a complete buffoon. We're the ruling class, the Democrat Party and their media. They're doing everything humanly possible to install her. I don't find that funny. And I'm deeply concerned about this. Deeply. Because I know what's going to happen to this country. And I know what's going to happen to each one of you. Even some of you who vote for her. You won't escape it. You won't escape it. Now, I want you to listen to this on The View. What Kamala Harris said. Because we hear from her surrogates, not from her, but her mouthpieces leaking to the media and so forth, that she's trying to separate herself from Biden. Is she? Biden the disaster? Is she? Well, listen to this. Cut 7, go.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact. Yeah. The work that we have done, for example, capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month for our seniors is something.
Stop there. See right there? Trump did that. Trump did that. They take credit for something Trump did. I can go back and play the audio, but why should I? Go ahead.
about allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices.
Yes.
Trump did that. He did that too. Go ahead.
The prescription medication down for seniors, but my intention is to expand that for all Americans. The work we have done to invest in American industries, whether it be in terms of manufacturing.
They didn't invest in American industries. The one company they invested in has ties to Communist China. The solar energy company they've been bragging about they invested in. Apparently it has a fairly close relationship to Communist China. These people are such friggin' liars. But here's the bottom line. It would be no different, she says. Food prices haven't come down. They're through the roof. Energy prices haven't come down. They're through the roof. They're $1 more a gallon of gasoline. Electricity prices haven't come down. They're almost 50% higher than they were when Trump was in office. Housing prices are through the roof. Rental prices are through the roof. In other words, basic things that you need to sustain yourself and your family. Those prices are through the roof, and they're not coming down. They're not coming down. Inflation is through the roof. It's not coming down anytime soon. You need a change of administration. You need people who are going to embrace the American people, the wisdom of the American people, the know-how of the American people, our businesses, small and large, rather than treating them as enemies. You've got to stop talking about centralization of government with more and more regulations, more and more taxation. We're not interested in redistribution of wealth. We're interested in success. Success. Why would we want politicians to decide the winners and losers? Why would we want to increase a massive bureaucracy and make it even bigger? That's not how you create prosperity for more and more people. We're not interested in equity. That's what they do in North Korea. That's what they do in Communist China. We're interested in opportunity, where people who want to succeed can succeed. We're interested in helping American citizens, not opening our borders to everybody who wants to come in here and go on the welfare state. We're not interested in that. Kamala Harris does not have your interests in heart. She believes in the fundamental transformation of America. That's why Obama groomed her when she was Attorney General, running for Attorney General of California. She's not interested in supporting the state of Israel, period. Donald Trump is unequivocal about it. Now, why is that important to people who say, what's Israel have to do with anything? What does it have to do with anything? Because I've told you before, people who hate Israel hate America. People who hate America hate Israel. She's not going to do a damn thing about the anti-Semitism in the streets. You heard what Donald Trump said yesterday. That's the most full-throated attack on anti-Semitism in this country I've heard yet. The most full-throated statement about securing our border, supporting our allies, building up our military. What we need in this country is what we needed 100 years ago. Normalcy. Normalcy. We don't want revolution by immigration. We don't want our economy turned inside out. We don't want to destroy the combustion engine and the automobile. Ladies and gentlemen, everything's on the line. All the rest of it is crap. All the rest of it is propaganda, paid for and in kind by the media. Much more when I return. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. The other thing that I really detest about Kamala Harris and her ilk is how they go on the attack and take responsibility for nothing. Kamala Harris did not sit in a single pre-Hurricane Helene meeting. Not one. Presidents and vice presidents do that all the time. Because of the nature of hurricanes, it affects tens of millions of people. It affects commerce. It affects God knows what. She never attended it. Took her 4 days to get back from Washington, from Hollywood and Las Vegas, where she was raising money. Where she was hanging out with the millionaires and billionaires she claims to want to tax. She didn't lift a finger to help those people. She hasn't lifted a finger to secure the border. In fact, she never lifts a finger. So it's very, very problematic. Donald Trump is in Georgia. Donald Trump is in North Carolina. Donald Trump asked Elon Musk and got Elon Musk to help get internet activity going in these poor rural areas that have been slammed. He brought a trailer full of food and water. Oh, he just does that for politics. He doesn't have to do anything. This is the responsibility of the president and the vice president. This is the responsibility of the government. The 82nd Airborne wasn't called in until a week after. And then the 101st after that. Why did they wait a week? People are missing. Over 200 people are dead. I can assure you if this were New Orleans, they'd act immediately. How do we know? Because they did. George W. Bush took hell over what took place. The FEMA administrator took hell over what took place. So now Biden's criticized, Kamala Harris is criticized, and you know what they do? They turn it around. You see, Trump's playing politics. Trump is not empathetic. It's sick. And in fact, FEMA ran out of money. Do you know how I know FEMA ran out of money? Because FEMA reports to the Secretary of DHS, Mayorkas, and Mayorkas is the one that said FEMA didn't have any money. We didn't make it up. He said it. We played it. Donald Trump didn't make it up. Kamala Harris is on The View. I'm not even going to play it. She says it's profound. It's the height of irresponsibility, frankly, callousness. So lives are literally at stake right now. People are losing their homes with no hope of ever being able to reconstruct or return. And the idea that somebody would be playing political games for the sake of himself. But this is so consistent about Donald Trump, she says. He puts himself before the needs of others. I fear that he really lacks empathy on a very basic level, to care about the suffering of other people, and then understand the role of a leader is not to beat people down. It's to lift people up, especially in a time of crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, she's in New York right now, doing Howard Stern, The View, Colbert. It's all about her. 3 clown shows. She's not even campaigning with the American people or to the American people. And it's she who failed to attend the pre-hurricane meetings. It's she who waited 4 days to come back to Washington, D.C. Trump was Johnny on the spot. He was Donnie on the spot. And so let me ask you something. All those people who have suffered in Western North Carolina and Georgia and other places, all those volunteers, all those pastors, all those veterans, all those charities, they're all lying. They're all on TV for days saying FEMA's not here. FEMA's not here. Oh, but don't worry, says the spokes idiot for the idiot at the White House. We put aside $250 million. We've given them checks. There's nothing to buy. They can't cash them. They need necessities. They need to eat and drink and be clothed. Oh, they're just hillbillies, you know, Republicans over there. They'll get along. They'll do just fine. And she picks a fight with Ron DeSantis, who's in the middle of dealing with a hurricane, in the middle of dealing with a second hurricane. If there was ever a governor who knows what he's doing, it's Ron DeSantis, America's governor. And then listen to this. Here she goes again. She hasn't lifted a finger to help anybody. Makes a call. Who cares? And by the way, DeSantis said, I never got a call from her. But he had been in touch with Biden. He's been dealing with the President of the United States. Does Kamala Harris really seem concerned? Cut one, Mr. Producer, go.
Governor DeSantis, NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation?
Now let's stop right here. She never stops to talk to the media. She knew this question was coming, had to, because she wanted to answer it. NBC News is wrong, as a matter of fact. Wrong, as a matter of fact. But look how she jumps in on this, because this is who she is. She is cold-blooded. Go ahead.
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
See, she is projecting. DeSantis is not playing politics. As a matter of fact, DeSantis answers her on Hannity yesterday. Cut two, go.
And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies.
Cut three, go.
My focus has not been on dealing with Kamala Harris. I saw the news report. I didn't know she tried to contact me. But I'd also say it's not about you, Kamala. Right. It's about the people of Florida. My focus is exactly where it should be. And I can tell you this. I've worked on these hurricanes under both President Trump and President Biden. Neither of them ever tried to politicize it. She has never called on any of the storms we've had since she's been vice president until apparently now. Why all of a sudden is she trying to parachute in and inject herself when she's never shown any interest in the past? We know it's because of politics. We know it's because of her campaign. I have zero time to entertain these political games. We're going to continue to do what we need to do to prepare and respond to what may be one of the most damaging storms in the history of the United States. So she says focusing on protecting your people is selfish. I think she ought to look in the mirror.
And then Joe Biden himself at the White House today in his dealings with DeSantis. Cut four, go.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing.
All right, anyway, so as you can see, Kamala Harris is odd woman out. She's a drama queen, draws attention to herself, has no substance whatsoever, all superficial. All she does is trash people, attack people, and then accuse people of not having empathy, of trashing other people, and not uniting the country. This is a very, very bad person. And evil in so many ways. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, Get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. I want you to remember the real Kamala Harris. The real Kamala Harris, who existed prior to 2 months ago. The Daily Mail, but this was in newspapers all over the country. This is September 6, 2024. Why General Kamala Harris lost over 90% of her staff as vice president. Harris and her reputation of mistreating staff continues haunting her newly discovered joyful warrior political brand. You notice I'm the only one that brings this up. She makes her final push to get elected president of the United States. As DA, as Attorney General, as Senator, as Vice President, she was despised by her staff. She had massive turnover. Massive. Even the Washington Post confirmed past reports that more than 90%, to be specific, 92.5%, of Harris's vice presidential staff who started working for her in early 2021 quit. That means almost her entire staff quit. The Harris team has tried to push the image of Harris as a kindly, jovial mamala, despite her nasty reputation as an alleged soul-destroying, quote-unquote, workplace bully. 92% staff turnover rate. And say critics, it is a likely sign that the issues on Team Harris have more to do with her than anyone else. As far back as the 2010s, when she served as California's Attorney General, she was allegedly known for running a toxic workplace, screaming at people, cursing at them, dropping the F-bomb left and right. Barbara O'Connor, professor at California State University, Sacramento, claimed that students who worked for Harris as interns frequently came back to her crying and saying they felt they weren't valued. This is the lady that runs around the country talking about equity. The little guy. Put the past behind us. Opportunity. She's a fraud. She's a phony. Terry McTeer, a former school superintendent in California, wrote in a 2019 op-ed that his son experienced the real Harris when he worked for her as an intern. Harris insisted that her staff stand every morning to greet her and say, "Good morning, General," and did not allow her junior staff to look her in the eye. She also had the propensity to throw around F-bombs as part of her daily routine, according to the op-ed. As the Senator of California, Harris also experienced difficulties with staff. Analysis showed her office had the 9th highest staff turnover rate of the 114 senators who served between 2017 and 2020. She also faced criticism for how she treated staff during her failed 2020 presidential campaign. In a sensational resignation letter shared with the New York Times in November 2019, which I guess the New York Times has since shredded, Harris's then state operations director, Kelly Mellenbacher, slammed her boss, saying, I have never seen an organization treat its staff so poorly. But as Harris's failed campaign then descended into a nasty blame-shifting and finger-pointing, Biden threw her a political lifeline when he selected the senator as his vice president. In June 2021, Politico spoke to 22 individuals familiar with Harris's VP office, who all claimed that her team was experiencing low morale, porous lines of communication, and diminished trust among aides and senior officials. It's not a place where people feel supported, but a place where people feel treated like blank, one source said. Multiple staffers who worked for Harris before she was vice president told the Washington Post in December 2020 how she reportedly refused to prepare for public appearances and blame her aides when she then underperformed. Now, we see this every single damn day. It's clear with Harris that you're not working with somebody who's willing to do the prep and the work, one ex-aide said. With Kamala, you have to put up with a constant amount of soul-destroying criticism and also her own lack of confidence, so you're constantly sort of propping up a bully, and it's not really clear why. In a May interview on actress Drew Barrymore's talk show, Harris played the magnanimous boss, but also voiced her emphasis on loyalty. Quote, "It's really important to be around people who love you, who are about you, and who are going to be honest with you," she said. Got that? Got that? And there's other stories, too. Now, that's her. What about her husband? What about her husband? We have a new story about that now. Also, the Daily Mail. You won't read this in Bob Woodward's book, the New York Slimes, the Washington Compost, or the rest of it. In fact, I haven't even seen this on any cable channel. We only have 30 seconds, so I will expand on it after the break. But you need to know what we're dealing with, the character of these people, how dishonest and deceptive they are to you, and how they're grifters and operators and surrogates and the Praetorian Guard media are lying to you and trying to conceal this as you vote early and on Election Day. We'll pursue this. Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, faces explosive new allegations from his time as a top L.A. law firm lawyer. Have you heard this anywhere? On TV? No, you haven't. You read it in the Slimes or the Compost? No, you won't. You seen it on cable? No, you haven't. But I'll give voice to it. We'll be right back. The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, America's Paul Revere. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
We're here with our friend Kevin McCarthy, whose insight into these elections are really quite remarkable. Kevin, welcome. I want to get your feel for things. I go back and forth, not that you're Notre Damus or even Notre Damus, but you get a sense of this. I mean, you know, I think Kamala Harris or flubs and all, I'm not laughing at this. I fear for my country, our country, if she's president of the United States. Yeah. She's immature. She's not intelligent. She's ideologically driven. She has a reputation for being a very mean and nasty person that they're concealing, brutalizing her staff. She takes responsibility for nothing. Here we are in the middle of a hurricane. She's attacking Trump on the hurricane. Helene, she's attacking DeSantis with this hurricane. Melvin, I mean, what the hell's going on here?
It's very concerning because think about it. If she was to win, she'd be the leader of the free world, and somebody running for city council has been questioned more than she has. There's no joy in working for her staff. Every person in politics, we all know each side of the aisle. If you have like 90% turnover, we know it's not the staff. You're the common denominator. Nancy Mace and Kamala Harris, same problem. Nobody will work for them, and there's a reason why. It happens on both sides. But I'm from California. There is a reason why Elon Musk literally risks himself. We watch today, politically, they try to shut down the FCC from providing Starlink any money. When those people in North Carolina, you know who's helping them? Elon Musk, getting internet.
Now, stop there 1 second, Kevin. Kevin, I want to underscore this point. The FCC is trying to kneecap Elon Musk, and he's the one that is coming to the rescue of these people in need, just like the FCC last week handed George Soros 220 radio stations by cutting the system. So the government, the federal government, is now working for Kamala Harris, working for The Democrat, but this is outrageous.
You talk about democracy on the ballot. This is exactly what we're talking about. They use government to reward their friends and punish people they disagree with politically. I mean, look, Elon is not about a person, it's about the Constitution. I've known him for more than 10 years. I've watched this guy. The astronaut stuck in space, government can't go get him. Elon's going to go save him. And he built something on his own that America didn't have. But let's get back to the election. Presidential election, is it close? Yes, it is close. Okay, but let's look at where we are. There's an interesting poll. There's a lot of polls out there. Who will you vote for? But Gallup came out with a poll last week that they have done many times before, okay, during presidential. They don't ask you who you vote for. They ask you, which party do you identify with? For the first time, Republicans, more Americans identify with Republicans than Democrats, 48 to 45. If you look at the correlation, the span between the two parties, Democrats have always won. But when the span was bigger, Democrats would win the presidency. In the last election for president, Joe Biden wins, but we have an electoral college. He only won by 48,918 votes. If you look at the poll today in Wisconsin, 4 years ago, Biden was up by 6.2, but he only won the state by 20,000 votes. Pennsylvania is the whole race. If Trump carries the exact same electoral college that he did before, but he picks up Georgia and Pennsylvania, the race is over. I'm telling you right now, I feel momentum on President Trump's side. Going back to Butler was more than a presidential rally. What he did, he kept his promise. Anybody will tell you, when you have something so traumatic like that, and the nation did, whereas he was going to be assassinated, he didn't let that city, that's the only thing that was known about. No, he went back for something better for it. He went back to let the nation heal. You look at the crowd there. This is doing something much bigger for the entire nation. Kamala Harris is afraid to go and be interviewed. She's afraid for the teleprompter to break, that it's just 32 days is all she can say. Mm-hmm. This is the scary part. There are no undecided voters, Mark. What this whole election is, who can get out the low propensity voters will win this election. And if
are they better at that, or are we better at that?
Okay, in the last election with COVID, so they changed election law. They'd send everybody a ballot. In Pennsylvania, if you look at the last 8 years of voter registration, Republicans have been closing the mark, okay? But 4 years ago, everybody was just mailed the ballot because of COVID. 300,000 Democrats more voted in that election that have never voted since. So I'm telling you, Republicans, the motivation is greater on our side. We just have to keep it for the next 28 days. We'll determine our own future. You can't sit back and say, oh, well, I'm too upset, so I'm not going to vote. No. When Kennedy beat Nixon, it was one vote per precinct. Don't be that one person.
And we need our voters to vote now. To vote early, where there's early voting, don't we?
You've got to vote early. You don't know what's going to happen to the weather. You don't know what's going to happen to polls. Bank your vote now.
And doesn't that also allow we citizens to be the Paul Revere's and the Thomas Paines? That is, we banked our vote. Now let's work on getting a few of our friends and family members who we know are going to vote the right way to get out and vote. In other words, we are citizen patriots. We can't rely on the RNC, as good as they may be. We can't rely on PACs. We can't rely on state parties and local parties, even though they better step up. We've got to rely, I tell my audience, it's not what do we do, it's what are you going to do?
Exactly. Think about Republicans. We're independents, right? We're not looking for somebody else to solve our problems. We're going to do what we need, and then we're going to go help our neighbor. So do that now. Do your responsibility, then let's go help our neighbor turn their vote in.
When people say to me, Kevin, what can we do? What can we do? This is what each of us, the millions and millions who listen to this program, this is what we can do. We're an army of patriots, and if we don't step up now, I am concerned. Let me ask you this. If the other side wins this election, America will still exist, but it won't be the same America, because Tim Walz just said in a private fundraiser they're going to do their best to eliminate the Electoral College. If they eliminate the Electoral College, eliminate the filibuster, push that through, then
Supreme
Republicans
Court.
can never win.
They're going to expand the Supreme Court. So they're going to they're going to create 2 new states. They're going to make it where Republicans can never win again, just like what they do with the FCC, and they go after you in the legal courts. But this is the fundamental difference. And Elon and I were having this discussion recently because we both watched what they have done to our beloved state of California. But so many people are leaving California. Luckily, you got a DeSantis, or you can go to Texas, where you have freedom. If they win this next election, there will be no place that you can leave. Mm-hmm. The entire country is going to be like a California. You don't want that. We cannot hide. We won't be able to leave to seek freedom.
I remember California. I lived there for a very short period of time. This is the state that gave us Reagan. That couldn't give us Reagan today. Duke Majan couldn't give us Duke Majan today. Pete Wilson couldn't give us Pete Wilson today. They changed the voting system. They opened the borders wide open. They had a federal judge, Henderson, who destroyed the proposition, which was to tighten up immigration. I mean, I remember it all. And they immediately went for power, and they grabbed it. And after Schwarzenegger, that was the end of it.
Yep.
They know how to do this.
This is where she comes from, San Francisco. This is her home base. Remember when she was asked that question, what different decision would you make that Joe Biden made? She couldn't think of one. She is no change. She is perpetuating it, and she's on steroids because she's to the left of Bernie Sanders when she was a senator.
And I read an article out loud because people forget from the Daily Mail, but there were scores of papers and publications at the time. How she abused her staff, how she had a 92% turnover, how she dropped the F-bomb, how she mistreated interns. What happened to those stories? Now she's running a joyful campaign, Kevin. What happened to those stories?
Yeah, very good. They are all in cahoots. They cover everything up. They don't talk about her husband. They don't talk about her staff. There is a reason. I will tell you, when they were trying to remove Joe Biden from the ballot, Nancy Pelosi was telling the Democrats from California, we're going to remove Joe Biden, but we don't want Kamala Harris. She's worse than Joe.
Mm-hmm.
They know.
Well, what happened? What happened?
Well, Joe jammed them. He said, if I'm going to leave, you're going to have her.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it for a moment. The most powerful job in the entire world, and she never went through a primary. She never stood before a voter and said, vote for me. She was never challenged when you had a debate through a primary. The Democrats all selected who they wanted, and she never got to be there.
They didn't even have an open convention. They had a phony virtual convention. She was voted on before the convention.
Exactly. Where's democracy there?
God, I tell you. All right, my brother. Well, keep up the great work. You're doing great. All right. Take care of yourself.
Bank the vote. Thank you, my friend.
Bank the vote is right. Thank you, folks. The most important thing you can do now is vote early. I'm not kidding. That's the most important thing you can do. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to 2 choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. I'm going to talk to you about Doug Emhoff. Doug Emhoff is a sleazeball. And the media and the campaign have been hiding this too. This is an exclusive. It's breaking today at the Daily Mail. We need a foreign newspaper to do it. Kamala Harris's husband was inappropriate, misogynist at work. His former colleagues, plural, tell the DailyMail.com. Attorneys, plural, who work with Doug Emhoff and his former firm, Venable, say he yelled expletives just like his wife, held a men-only cocktail hour in the office, revoked work perks from women who didn't flirt with him, and took only young, attractive associates in limousines to a ball. A 2019 lawsuit also claims sex discrimination by other partners in the L.A. office Emhoff ran. He ran the office. And that while engaged to Harris, he hired an unqualified part-time model as a legal secretary, quote, because she was young, attractive, and friendly with the powerful men in the office. And it's funny how today she says, Donald Trump is misogynist. I'm telling you, these people are evil. She's evil. He's evil. The claims are the latest in a string of allegations revealed by DailyMail.com. And by the way, if they're wrong, why don't they sue them? That threaten to shatter Emhoff's image, heavily promoted by the Harris presidential campaign of a feminist ally and a wife guy. In August, Daily Mail revealed the Los Angeles lawyer cheated on his first wife and got his daughter's grade school teacher, come nanny, pregnant. Nice guy. Emhoff admitted to the affair after the story broke. And last week, we uncovered they write claims that he struck his ex-girlfriend in 2012, 4 days after Daily Mail contacted Emhoff for comment. A spokesperson reportedly denied the allegations untrue in a statement to politics website Semaphore. Neither he nor the White House have commented to any other media, including the Daily Mail. Now his former colleagues from the Venable Los Angeles office, which he ran from 2006 to 2017, are coming forward with allegations about his inappropriate and a-hole behavior in the workplace, quote unquote. They all spoke upon agreement they would not be named, fearing retaliation. One senior former staffer claimed Emhoff bragged about yelling, "Get F out of my office," to a female partner at the firm, later telling his top male colleagues that he had put her in her place. And it goes on and on. This guy is a sleazeball. She is a nasty, angry woman to her staff. These are bad people. This is an evil couple. And that's right. Bob Woodward won't write about this. Maggie Haberman won't write about this. CNN and MSNBC, none of them will talk about this.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
There you go. There you go. There you go. I hope the Trump campaign's listening. That is a big TV ad. The open borders, the disastrous foreign policy, the massive debt, inflation, crime. She says there's not a damn thing she would have done differently. In fact, she was a part of every one of those decisions. I would have done nothing different than Biden did. Period. That's why they try and hide her. They try and hide her like an ant, a mentally disturbed ant in the attic. But every now and then she's got to show some ankle. But it's even more than that, Kamala Harris. Even more than that. What about the border? Bill Whitaker, who did a very good job, I thought, interviewing. Far better than ABC and CBS and CNN and all the other frauds, phonies, and fools. Even though CBS heavily edited her answer to Israel, she does not support Israel. My fellow Jews better wake the hell up before it's too late. The Israeli Jews support Trump, by the way, over Harris by more than 2-1. By more than 2-1, because they're facing the enemy. They and their children are fighting their enemy. Back here, it's easy to sit on your ass and be a left-wing Democrat. Kamala Harris, again on 60 Minutes with Bill Whitaker, about immigration. Let's listen very carefully. Very tough question, you know. Cut 9, go.
I've been covering the border for years, and so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies?
Now let's stop right there for a moment for me to add this little footnote. And during those 3 years, they told you the border was secure. They didn't need any legislation. They didn't need a damn thing. They told you the border was secure. And at the same time, they were secretly flying in what turns out to be 1 million illegal aliens from all over the world, including Venezuela, including gang members, into this country and landing them throughout the country, particularly, by the way, in battleground states. We now see that a disproportionate number of illegal aliens were put in battleground states because this is all about politics. It's about power. It is a grotesque abuse of power. And so for those 3 years, this is not memory lane. This is a fact. They told you that that border was secure. Now they hang on this piece of legislation that even more than half a dozen Democrats voted against that could never pass because it enshrines 95% of what Biden and Harris have done on the border. It's that simple. So if you like what's going on the border, if you like these Venezuelan gangs coming into your communities and MS-13, if you like women sold into sex slavery, particularly women of color, if 325,000 children are missing, and that's on their watch, according to the Inspector General. Their watch. Nobody else's. They take responsibility for nothing. They're not held accountable for anything. Harry Truman said the buck stops here on his desk, but not with these people. They lie. They deceive. They're dishonest. They're pathological. And Bill Whitaker, first one, not CNN, not ABC, not CBS. Finally, this gentleman says, okay, there have been problems in the past and so forth, but illegal immigration arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it you know what? This guy's so good. Ask the question again. Start at the top, Mr. Producer.
I've been covering the border for years, and so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers today, because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
Okay, she's a liar. And I want you to listen to me carefully because this is what they do on the left and this is what Harris and Biden do. They're no longer counting the people who use the apps. They tell people throughout Central and South America, use the apps, and elsewhere, by the way, contact us, and we will bring you into the United States through a port of entry, or we will fly you through into the United States. They don't count them as illegal aliens, even though they're illegal aliens, and without any statute. They say, oh, we need a statute. Without any statute, they defy long-existing immigration law. So they're purposely bringing in illegal aliens by the hundreds of thousands, but they're not counting them as illegal aliens. That's number one. Number two, if illegal aliens come through the port of entry, they're not counting them as illegal aliens. So they're fixing the numbers. I don't mean reforming them. I mean fixing the books. They did the same thing They did the same thing with the labor force numbers, the job numbers. All of a sudden, oh, by the way, 818,000, we were off. You're off 818,000, so you didn't create all those jobs? No. So this is the same thing right here. But his point is still well taken. Go ahead.
Cut the flow of fentanyl by half, but we need Congress to be able to...
Okay, enough. I'm not going to just keep pushing her BS. Oh, boy. Her BS. This has nothing to do with Congress. Congress passed laws. They're called immigration laws. They violated the immigration laws. I was the first and the only one for a very long time to try and tell the House Oversight Committee and the House Judiciary Committee, stop focusing on the financial. You should impeach Biden for violating our immigration laws. He's not upholding the laws like he's required to do as President of the United States. Other people have since said, remember when I said? No, we don't remember when you said. But that's been my position for many years now during the course of this administration. And the fact of the matter is they broke the law. Now they want to pass a new law. They break the laws all the time. They break separation of powers. They break the Constitution. They twist it into a pretzel. And all of a sudden, a law that received over 6 Democrats voted against it, and that would enshrine 95% of what's going on, including 2 million illegal aliens every single year. The flights would continue, and they don't even count them as illegal aliens. Lawyers paid for by you for illegal aliens, and catch and release would be enshrined in federal law. That's in the bill. And it would be nice if one of these damn phony journalists would get off their ass and read the bill. But they're not going to. Because they're not journalists. Right, Jake? Right? Right, Wolf? Turns out Wolf is a pussycat, Mr. Producer. That's right, kitty cat. Right, Andrea? Andrea Mitchell. Right, everybody? You're frauds, phonies, and fakes. Cut 10, go.
Your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States. And I have been traveling our country. And I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground.
Okay, no, she hasn't. She hasn't been listening to folks. She only goes to events where there are millionaires and billionaires donating to her various campaigns and raising money for others. She doesn't go and meet the people. Is she going to meet the people the last 2 months? Huh? Is that what she does? She goes out and meets the people and looks for common ground? She was the most radical partisan senator in the United States Senate. She never participated in any bipartisan bill. The most radical vice president in American history voted to break one tie vote after another for the most radical agenda in American history? No. She's not looking for common ground. She's not bipartisan. She's a radical Marxist Islamist who doesn't give a damn about you. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we look around the country, we want to get involved in individual races. Obviously, we can't get involved in all of them, but races that I think are close and potential pickups or hold-ons. And Tom Barrett's running in Michigan District 7, and he's a solid patriot. And I want to introduce him to the entire state of Michigan and the entire country. Tom Barrett, how are you, sir?
Thank you, Mark. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Well, it is my pleasure. So tell us about your district, tell us about you, tell us about your opponent and this race, and why it's important.
Sure. Yeah, this really is so important, and I appreciate so much you having me on. I'm running in Michigan's 7th Congressional District. It is really the middle of Michigan, the greater Lansing area, of course, Lansing being our capital city here in Michigan. I live in a small town just outside of Lansing. My wife and I are raising 4 kids of our own. My oldest is 11. My youngest is 3. And I'm running because I just feel that families like mine aren't having our voices heard in Washington today. Of course, we've seen a cost of living crisis that is affecting family budgets more and more every single day and every single month. You know, I'm old enough to remember that when you worked hard in America, you had a little bit of money left over at the end of the month. And today, it feels like no matter how hard you work under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you've got too much month left at the end of your money. And we've got to fix that problem. We've got to attack the issue of our southern border. 10 million illegal border crossings just under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's watch. Probably more than that. We know of 10 million, probably more. We have national security threats growing stronger every single day and foreign adversaries getting more and more emboldened. And we have issues of crime on the rise. Lansing, the central geographic city of this district where I'm running, now ranks as one of the 20 most violent cities in America today. I'm telling you, I'm running because I see these problems and I want to confront them. My background is in the Army. I joined the Army my senior year of high school, took the very first airplane ride of my life to basic training, and then spent 22 years in the Army. I was a young private in South Korea when 9/11 happened. It changed my life and the life of so many other Americans, the future of our country. I stayed in the Army, did a number of deployments, went to flight school and learned to fly some of the most amazing helicopters in the world, and just retired from that 2 years ago, and now doing my best to put our country back on the right track.
Now, who are you running against? And is the district a leans Democrat, or it's give us an idea?
So this district is ranked as the most competitive congressional district in America. It's an open seat this year. The current incumbent is a Democrat, Alyssa Slotkin, who is vacating the seat to run for the United States Senate. So this is one of the top seats just because it's an open seat, but it also has a nearly even balance Republican-Democrat. The Cook Political Report scores it as a R+2, a Republican +2 seat. I think it's far more of a dead-even district, and it's going to take every bit of effort we can to win this race. I've been ahead in the polls consistently all year, but it has really tightened up as we get closer and closer to the finish line just because of the competitiveness of this race and the overwhelming spending by Democrats. This is now the most expensive race in the country and will probably exceed $40 million in total spending before everything's finished here in just 4 weeks from tonight.
Where the hell do these Democrats get their money? They have these billionaire oligarchs like Soros and these other people, and they set up these PACs and they pour it into these districts and states. It's so overwhelming. I mean, I remember when a race would be $300,000-$400,000. So tell us about your opponent.
Yeah, my opponent is a career politician, 22-year-long ladder climber career politician, a top lieutenant of Gretchen Whitmer, who needs no introduction to your audience, of course, our rogue Democrat lockdown governor here in Michigan. He went to work. He replaced Gretchen Whitmer in the state Senate and then went to work directly for her when he was term limited from office, became her top lobbyist. Get this, he signed a non-disclosure agreement with a Chinese-backed CCP-affiliated battery company looking to relocate to Michigan. He's listed in their Foreign Agents Registries Act disclosure about secret conversations that they had while he was lobbying for Governor Whitmer to get $175 million of state tax money awarded to this company for the privilege of having them come spy on us. We just indicted, the FBI just indicted 5 Chinese spies that were masquerading as college students at Camp Grayling, a military installation in Michigan, where I spent countless hours and countless days flying helicopters and training in the Army there at Camp Grayling. We know that they are looking to spy on us. Leon Panetta, Barack Obama's own CIA director, said this would absolutely be used for espionage against the United States. My opponent's clearly on the side of giving our tax money at a time where families can't afford their grocery bill. He wants to give $175 million to the Chinese communists so they can come spy on us. It's an absolute disaster, and it's all in the furtherance of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's electric vehicle mandate that'll dismantle the Michigan manufacturing base that we've relied on for so long.
Well, this is the thing. I'm sure you have a lot of union members in your district, Lansing and so forth, and they're in bed with the communist Chinese. They're going to undermine the auto industry. And as you point out, they're a danger to our technology industries and so forth and so on. That's got to be hurting them. Is that message getting out?
It is. You know, we actually have an ad starting this week calling out my opponent for this. I remind the voters in my district in this new ad that we have running that the only non-disclosure agreement that I ever signed in my life was called a security clearance in the Army. Meanwhile, my opponent is in this entanglement with the Chinese communists, sending them our money. I've never been listed in any Foreign Agent Registry Act disclosure, and my opponent's all over. He took money from their registered foreign agents back here in the United States for his campaign.
Well, wait a minute. He's registered foreign agent for the Chinese?
So he accepted campaign contributions from the registered foreign agents of this Goshen company that is entirely backed by the Chinese Communist
And that's
Party.
I want the public to know. Hold on one second. The Communist Chinese, this is how they conduct themselves. They have these front companies. And they work through these front companies. And you're telling me that your opponent took money from somebody who's registered under FAR with the Department of Justice associated with the Communist Chinese.
Yes, sir. Yeah, took campaign contributions from them. And I feel, and I'm sure the feeling of your listeners too, a direct conflict of interest for a person who's looking to go to the United States Congress, where we're making decisions about national security threats every single day, making war and peace decisions about where we're going to send American troops and what type of engagements we're going to have.
Tom Barrett, I have a hard break. I have a hard break. I'd like to carry over the break. If people want to help, where do they go?
They can go to TomBarrettForCongress.com. We need all the help we can get. We are so close, just 4 weeks to go.
TomBarrettForCongress.com. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the Thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
We're here with a great patriot, a conservative, Tom Barrett. He's running for Congress in, let's see here, Michigan's 7th District. Now, it includes Lansing. What other towns are in that district?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. It really includes the surrounding counties around Lansing, Eaton County, Clinton, Shiawassee, Ingham, Livingston, and a corner of Oakland County. This is really kind of stretching the mid-Michigan area, the greater Lansing area of Michigan. A lot of small towns and rural communities in this district, kind of hubbed around the city of Lansing and East Lansing there in the middle. So it includes just, wonderful people who just want the government to get out of their way and allow them to go about their lives without the government standing in their way and stopping them from achieving their greatest potential. And that's fundamentally why I'm running for Congress.
And your opponent's a leftist, let's be honest. Isn't your opponent a leftist?
He is, yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And what about the border? What's his recommendation on the border?
Oh, yeah. So he refers to illegal immigrants as law-abiding citizens. Of course, I had to remind him that they're neither law-abiding nor are they citizens. He says to fix this problem, we need to open the border more. And he says that illegal immigrants have earned a status above those of naturally born Americans because they encountered some kind of struggle on their quest to come to America. I just can't. When you have 10 million people that have entered the country illegally on the low-end estimate that have come into the country illegally, overwhelmed our social welfare system, overwhelmed our national security apparatus, hundreds, if not thousands, on the terror watch list that have crossed over illegally. I spent a year of my life in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, standing face-to-face with terrorists there who told us they wanted to come to America and kill us. Now, Mark, I believe them. I want to keep them out of our country, and we have to strengthen our border to make sure that we do that. My opponent supports sanctuary cities and fully endorses that. He voted against a bill that I sponsored as a state lawmaker that would have defunded sanctuary communities in Michigan, voted against it because he stands on the side of these radical left-wing safe harbors for people, including terrorists, who come to America and plot their next attack against us.
And here's one right here. Breaking news. New York Post, Afghan national in U.S. on special immigrant visa, accused of plotting ISIS-inspired Election Day terrorism attack. Now, this is the position of the administration with all these phony special immigration visas and so forth and so on, getting around our immigration laws. And your opponent wouldn't lift a finger to stop this sort of immigration lawlessness, would he?
No, he wouldn't. In fact, he stood by as Governor Whitmer's top legislative advocate and lobbyist to give housing stipends to people who had entered the country, in many instances illegally, and then were granted this endless parole status by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their failure and their failed record on the border. So this is a huge part of the contrast between myself and my opponent. In fact, people can go online to my website, TomBarrettForCongress.com, and see the 4 pillars, I call it my 4 pillars of security that I'm running on: economic security, border security, neighborhood security, and national security. All 4 of them are interrelated, and all 4 of them, frankly, are in large part affected by our border policies.
What is your opponent's name?
My opponent's name is Curtis Hertel, and he comes from a family. His dad was the Speaker of the House here in Michigan 30 years ago. He has a 22-year record of elected, ladder climbing of his own. His brother's a current state lawmaker. He had an uncle in Congress, another one in the state Senate. There's probably been 100 years or more of elected Hertel family members here in Michigan, and we're going to end that streak on Election Day 4 weeks from today.
The Democrat Party has lurched hard left. It's left working people, union, non-union. It's left the middle class and the lower middle class. It truly has. It serves the interests of communist China by trying to destroy our energy independence that was really developed under Donald Trump and so forth and so on. So the industrial heartland of the country, industry, people work with their hands, middle-class people. The Democrat Party has turned against them, going with the radical environmentalists, going with these oligarchs and so forth and so on. That sounds kind of like your opponent, no?
Oh, absolutely. You're exactly right. In fact, he voted to shut down a critical pipeline that runs through Michigan that services our needs for propane. Michigan is actually the leading state for residential home heating from propane. I live in a fairly rural part of Michigan and just outside of a small town. My wife and I heat our home with propane, and if it were left up to my opponent, he would shut down the critical pipeline. The safest way to transport products like propane, he would shut it down due to a radical environmental agenda. He would stand on the side of shutting down oil and gas leasing like we've seen Kamala Harris and Joe Biden do on federal lands. He would prevent our ability to unleash American energy, to get our economy back where we need to go, to get ahead of this inflationary crisis that we're facing, and allow us to support our allies abroad so that they're not, overwhelmingly subjected to Russian oil and gas, exportation there. If we can send our own natural gas overseas to allow our European allies to use that for their own energy needs, it would do a huge effort to creating a more secure national security environment for us.
We're talking to Tom Barrett, who's a great American hero, served the nation for many, many years in uniform. He's running in Michigan Congressional District number 7, Lansing, Michigan, and the surrounding areas. If you want to help Tom Barrett in Michigan or outside of Michigan, this is a seat that we can pick up. We must hold the House. You go to TomBarrettForCongress.com, Tom, BarrettFor, TomBarrettForCongress.com. We wish you all the best, my friend, and I'll endorse you if it doesn't hurt you. If it hurts you, I won't endorse you. We there, Rich? I think we lost him. All right. Well, I'll endorse him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you about... Thank him, by the way, Rich. He probably thought Okay. So here's this article in the New York Post. An Afghan national out in the U.S. during the Harris-Biden administration's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan was charged today with plotting an ISIS-inspired Election Day terror attack. Nasir Ahmad Tariq, 27, was in Oklahoma on a special immigrant visa as he took steps to stockpile AK-47 rifles and ammunition to carry out an attack on U.S. soil, quote, in the name of ISIS. According to the Department of Justice, we're so lucky we catch one of these guys. How many of them aren't we going to catch? This defendant, motivated by ISIS, allegedly conspired to commit a violent act on Election Day here on our homeland, said FBI Director Christopher Wray. I'm proud of the men and women of the FBI who uncovered and stopped the plot before anyone was harmed. We have one part of our government, Department of Homeland Security, that's letting all these people in willy-nilly. And then we have another part of our government that's trying to track them down. So the DHS and the FBI are working at cross purposes. Cross purposes. I don't know. Seems stunning to me. Completely out of control. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I want to thank you, folks. The ratings came in on the Fox News channel. Saturday I wasn't on. President Trump was doing an event, and I was unable to go on there live for the full hour. And Fox has been nothing but gracious, as has Westwood One and The Blaze. But Sunday I was able to go on, and Sunday was the highest rated weekend show in all of cable news and on Fox. So I want to thank you. Incredible numbers thanks to you. Absolutely incredible numbers like we haven't seen before. And we crushed CNN and MSNBC combined. And again, we won the day, all day Sunday. And keep in mind, I'm up against Sunday Night Football. It's like this show right now. If you're on WABC listening to the program, the Mets and the Phillies just end their playoff game. Now, when do they play the playoff game? When I'm on the air. So this is the toughest talk slot in radio, as we say, the toughest real estate. And we duke it out. We'll duke it out with the Mets and the Yankees. We'll duke it out with other sports teams in other cities, different sports altogether, basketball, hockey, so forth and so on. The 6 to 9 slot's the toughest slot, Eastern time, in radio, and we love it. We've been doing it for a very long time. They tried a lot of other people on this slot. Never worked. My competition has too. We always beat them. Not because of me, because of you. Because you're loyal and you're fantastic, and I'm blessed to have you out there. I want you to listen to this, folks. Mr. Producer, go.
Today I ask every mother and every father in Lebanon a simple question. Is it worth it? Because it doesn't have to be that way. I know you want a better future for your children.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
So I'm speaking to all of you today. There is a better way for your children, for your cities, for your villages, for your country. You deserve to restore Lebanon to its days of tranquility. You deserve a Lebanon that is different. One country, one flag, one people. Don't let these terrorists destroy your future any more than they've already done. Stand up and take your country back. You have an opportunity that hasn't existed in decades. An opportunity to take care of the future of your children and grandchildren. You have an opportunity to save Lebanon before it falls into the abyss of a long war that will lead to destruction and suffering like we see in Gaza. It doesn't have to be that way. Each of you can take a step for your future, even a small step. You can make a difference. I say to you, the people of Lebanon, free your country from Hezbollah so that this war can end. Free your country from Hezbollah so that your country could prosper again, so that future generations of Lebanese and Israeli children will know neither war nor bloodshed, but will finally live together in peace.
Mm-hmm. Because what Benjamin Netanyahu knows is that the people of Lebanon live in a police state. Hezbollah, as we've discussed before, assassinated their elected president. It was a fantastic country with Muslims and Jews and Christians. It was considered like the Middle East, Lebanon on the Riviera. And then Hezbollah destroyed it. They essentially have taken over the government. They have these elections, but in so many ways, they're not relevant. Hezbollah is bigger than the Lebanese army, and this was Iran that did it. Same thing they've done to Yemen. Same thing they're doing with Iraq. Same thing, even Syria now is under the fold of Iran. This is what Benjamin Netanyahu understands. He also understands that Iran is an inch deep. That is, they have some very powerful weapons, don't get me wrong. But the people hate the government. You see, the Iranians are Persians. They're not Arabs. And before the Islamo-Nazis took over, it's quite an advanced culture and society. Now, Khomeini, the original, came in. He was swept in by Jimmy Carter and others who went after the Shah of Iran because the Shah of Iran was a monarch. And they didn't like his human rights behavior. Now compare him to the Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran. That was Carter. Reagan backed the Shah of Iran, but it was too late. And so Iran fell. The people of Iran were not part of this so-called revolution. Elements of the population, yes, but it's much like the Taliban in Afghanistan. The Taliban does not represent the vast majority of people. It represents about 14 to 16% of the population, just as the Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran represents about maybe 20%. And there have been efforts to overthrow that government, but you have to understand that the Iranian military is not just a military for overseas and foreign adventures, but it is used domestically. They have horrendous prisons, which are really dungeons, where if you dare to speak out, they torture you and kill you, even if you're a 16-year-old girl who chooses not to fully cover her face or her hair, which led to what they called the teenager or women's revolution during the course of the Biden-Harris administration, but we didn't back it. So Netanyahu knows that the Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran is on thin ice. He knows that Hezbollah is not backed by the people there, the Lebanese, any more than the Persian people, the Iranians. And he knows that these are genocidal, monstrous police states. That's why he speaks to them. He speaks to the Iranian people. He tries to speak to the people of every one of these countries. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed force, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, our brothers and sisters in Israel. We have your back. Take out their nukes. Take out their oil. And you, the American people, my audience, God bless you. Great patriots. I appreciate you. See you tomorrow.